Alright, there is no better way to spend Valentine's Day than to, of course, play Fortnite Save the World, and to ignore your loved ones. But in all seriousness, happy Valentine's Day. We are, of course, going to be doing a Valentine's Day themed strategy for power level 160s, and let's jump straight on into the loadout that I will be using. I'm running Stoneheart Farrah in the lead because, believe it or not, but she is the only Valentine's Day hero in the entire game, surprisingly. So we are running her in the lead. She buffs bows, and we're running Underdog, just for a little bit of extra survivability. It does also synergize very well with any sort of healing perks you might have, of course, too. So that's why we're running that. We're running Heartbreaker Jonesy, of course. He synergizes and buffs bows, so that's really good. Same with Liner Ramirez, just some extra damage, which is always really nice. Survivalist Jonesy will be getting really good benefit from Underdog, because that just increases the amount of healing you get. Beat Wildcat, of course, increases the overall amount of damage. And I'm actually running Bomb Squad Kyle. He actually synergizes really well with the healing, of course, too. And also, I just want some survivability for this loadout. It's always really nice to have any sort of survivability in any loadout, in my opinion. One of the weapons I'm going to use is the Love Song. And basically, how this bow works, once you draw back the bow, long enough, it will fire an arrow. That arrow will apply a stun that lasts for a whopping 10 seconds, which is a very long time, to anything that you hit. And now, even though that sounds like a very good perk on paper, realistically, you're going to have to wait a very long time to actually get that stun arrow. And, you could have just possibly charged up multiple arrow shots in that time, dealing like around double, maybe triple the amount of damage. So, very, very niche perk in my opinion. And it also doesn't really work that well too against smashers, because when smashers are charging, they're actually fully immune to any sort of stun effect. So, even though it is a locked 6, or I guess first perk, technically, it's not a very good one, surprisingly. Now, I feel like there is definitely some sort of niche that makes that actually a really, really good perk. But I don't know, I just don't really see it with this one. And that is pretty much the gimmick of the Love Song. And let's talk about some of the other perks that I'm running on this weapon. I'm running both Fire Rate and Reload. Those two synergize very, very well with bows, because that increases the overall DPS of your bow by a lot. Very, very good combo for bows, I would say. I'm also running Critical Rating. We're going to, of course, get that crit damage back with Heartbreaker Jonesy. And I'm actually running bonus damage to afflicted targets. And I'll get into a bit of that, of course, with my Shrap build that I'm going to be running. And for my second weapon, I'm running the Heartbreaker. Now, there is actually a bit of anti-synergy with this strategy. Because the Heartbreaker isn't actually a bow, it's actually more of a sniper rifle than an actual bow. That technically means that Stoneheart Farrah doesn't actually buff this weapon, just because it doesn't actually classify as a true bow, let's just say. So, Stoneheart Farrah doesn't actually buff this weapon, sadly. So keep that in mind for both the Heartbreaker and the crossbow. But other than that, let's get into the perks. Of course, this isn't really a bow, so you don't really need Fire Rate or Reload as much. But I am running Reload anyways, because why not? I'm running a basic crit build, so crit damage plus crit rating, always a nice combo. Running some damage by default, and then extra damage for aiming down sights, which is really nice. An honorable mention would be the Stun 6 perk. That is actually a very, very strong 6 perk. Because this weapon does have Pierce, if you were to line all of the enemies up in a straight line, you can actually pierce through all of those enemies. And if nothing dies by the weapon itself, they all get pushed back and stunned for quite a long time. So very, very fun to run with the stun perk, but I think I might save that for a different video in the future. But yeah, those are pretty much the weapons I'm running, so let's hop straight into the game. So this is my build. So yes, you are seeing metal in a nature storm. I don't care what anyone says, I will still run metal in a nature storm because I don't have a constructor. Basically, this metal structure, because it has a wall shrap with extra building health, it actually has enough health to tank a full smasher blow by physical smasher. if you were to use a stone wall, even with a trap with building health on it, it will still get one-shotted by both types of smashers. So both, of course, a nature smasher and a physical smasher. So you can see right here, with this stone wall, at most it only gets around 9,000 health, which is still below what a normal tier 3 metal wall has. So if you're playing a nature zone without a constructor, it's still best to use metal. Now mind you, I don't think it really matters because they have frenzy, and that's just going to multiply the amount of damage everything does anyways, but, you know, might as well try to at least get some value from that. But right here, I have my traps set up, so all of the enemies are walking in a straight line, so when I use my Heartbreaker, I can pierce through all of those enemies. This is also why I decided to run, you know, bonus damage to Afflicted on my Love Song, right here, or actually that's the Heartbreaker, right here, bonus damage to Afflicted, because I'm using Roll Force with 2 reload perks, so, you know, I'm going to be applying fire to all of those enemies consistently, and getting that bonus damage in all the time. This lane's a little bit lame, it's just basically some floor launchers. And you gotta know that my defenders have the Heartbreaker right here, you know, pretty good weapon to use to get rid of enemies in the air. I would have loved to have them on the ground, you know, like, you know, shooting straight down the trap tunnel in a straight line. That would have been honestly really nice to have, but I didn't really have the space for that, so kinda just left them out of that. So let's start up the mission right now, and see how it goes. Also, just as a reminder, I do have the perks for everything, so my weapons, my heroes, and my traps all in the description if you are wondering about everything that I'm running. Also, a nice thing with insta-kill strategies like this is that they don't trigger frenzy at all, so these husks aren't really getting any extra movement speed at all. I might have needed a extra wall launcher like that in way too many leaks. But you know, that is why we leave space open, just in case we need traps. You know, if we need them, we'll place them down. If we don't need them, you know, we don't place them down. Not really a big deal. Right here you can see the husks are somewhat walking in a straight line, and whenever I fire, of course, an arrow from the Heartbreaker, I'm piercing through all of these husks very easily. And right here, this is actually why I have that edited wall right here, is just so I could crescent kick them off the map, or the tire trap that I have right above that tar pit can actually stagger enemies off the map. Pretty much just insta-killing them extremely easily, you know? Very, you know, very underrated technique, you know? You could just insta-kill enemies with just a crescent kick just because of how high the impact is for it. And right here, even though this isn't even, you know, something that I planned, but all of the husks are actually walking in basically a straight line right here. Because of the way that they're coming from the west, I can just pierce through all of these husks and hit multiple of them at the same time with my Heartbreaker, which is really nice. And the Love Song that I'm using is very good against smashers. It does very high single target damage against these smashers, so it's a very good option to use if you just want a, you know, just a bow that does high single target damage. Unironically, the downside of running Stoneheart Farrah is that her chain attacks actually do physical damage. So even if you're running an elemental bow, you know, her chain attacks will still do physical damage. Also, just get rid of that garbage right there. And of course, because the love song is amazing against smashers, it's going to be even better against huskies, which is great. Just get them out of here. Bit of a shame that this shrapnel pretty much got blown up, but, you know, it's not a big deal. We got Soulfield just in case something like that does happen. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the game. Not too shabby for a bunch of Valentine's Day crap. But yeah, other than that, very fun weapons. Pretty fun loadout, I would say. And yeah. And this wall launcher pretty much carried, so I think that was a very good investment right there. Well, I guess it's the end of the video once again. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You know, subscribe to stay up to date with whatever kind of garbage I upload. You know, and it helps out the channel a lot, more than you might think. If you have any sort of feedback, or you have any sort of ideas for weapon, hero loadouts, or shrap builds in the future, maybe make sure to leave a comment. And also share this video with anyone that likes Save the World. Or maybe even your loved ones. It is Valentine's Day after all. Who knows, they could appreciate and love and enjoy this video. So you never know. But other than that, hope you have yourselves a great Valentine's Day, or great day in general if you're not watching this on Valentine's Day. And I guess I'll see you in the next one, so see ya.